Okay. Okay. I think I had a little delay here, but hello everyone. Welcome to the Out of the Box Developer. And can I see? I think I'm having back. Okay. It's myself here. Sorry. I'm having background sounds here. So today we have some special guests, but I want to just call Manny and Bruno. That's always with us together. That you all already know. And so Manny and Bruno, hey, how are you, man?
Hey, good to be back here on this show again. Great. Thank you, Hugo, for bringing us back here on the Out of the Box Developer. Hey, Bruno, good to see you.
Hey Manny, how you doing? Hey Hugo, thanks a lot, guys. It's great. It's great to be here with you, and now, everyone here, right? It's watching us here. So if you can hear us, if you can see us, just say hello in the chat, right? We're trying to monitor the chat here so we can have a conversation with you. I see lots of people watching it, so that's great. And let me thank the guys from So Java. They're transmitting our conversation here. And whatever you're watching this, it's going to be YouTube or Twitter, it doesn't matter, right? Just say hello in the chat and let's have a conversation.
Yes, and not just the three of us. Today we have a special guest, and it's a professor. It's a great YouTuber, also a great contributor on the Java community. And yeah, I think there's many things that I can add here, but I will just call him in. So, Professor Isidoro, how are you, man?
Hi
Hey,
guys,
man.
nice to meet you. Very happy to be with you this evening. Let me introduce your audience. My name is Isidro. I'm a university. I'm a faculty member of Federal University of ABC in Brazil, and I'm very glad to be here to bring some I think academic point of views on your career to increase your development skills.
Awesome.
That's awesome. Because that's what we do here, discussing and bringing different point of views about growing in career. And so that's amazing that you joined us here. So it will add a lot on the discussion today. So thank you so much, Professor Zidro.
Thanks a lot for your invitation. For me, it's a big honor to be here.
That's great. Okay, so and you, they're watching us here, right? Say hello in the chat. Tell us where you're watching from, right? So our objective here today is to discuss, so Manny, you're the one planning for the day here today. So what are we going to discuss today?
So yeah, we always have like tear sheet, if you want to call it, which is like cheat sheet of questions that we prepare way before the show. We put a lot of research into this, like a week before, 2 weeks before. Bruno and Hugo and I will go through this document that we have that you'll never see probably, but we have a whole brain dump of questions that we discuss and put them there, and they're very relevant to our career, our profession, you know uh, and it's about developers. It's serious business, so we always keep adding more questions, removing questions to it. Went through it today, Hugo went through it, Bruno's always going through it. In fact, some of those questions are actually from what Bruno says. So long answer short is, we're going to go through questions about the quality of developers. How do you keep them? How do you attract them? How do you maintain them? How do you sustain them? How do you motivate them? And then we have some specific ones, like what are the skills you need to become an AI developer, AI ML developer? What skills do you need to stay relevant, right? And this is a very generic question, but for developers it is even more important, because we become irrelevant very, very quickly, because the technology world changes so quickly that before you blink your eye or look at the next monitor, you have another technology that you need to tackle, right? And so long, I mean, a summarized version of what we're going to be covering. We obviously won't go through all the questions, but we'll pick up a few of them, and our lovely audience here will definitely help us drive this show like they always do, isn't it, Bruno?
Yes, that's right. So if you have any questions about your career on how to be a good developer, artificial intelligence, Isidro said that he's going to talk about the academic side. So if you're worried about how to grow on the academic side, that's all good. So, but no, you Manny, you mentioned some awesome questions there, right? So I love the one that you talked about, how to motivate good developers, right? And keeping them motivated as long as possible, right? So, or, how to attract good developers and keep them, right? So how about we start about discussing teams, right? And how we attract people, how we motivate people.
Yeah, I don't know who wants to go first with it. We have a guest here. Maybe the guest should get a chance to go before I go. It's. I really leave it to you guys. I mean, if you can pass the buck to anybody here, it's a democratic platform here. No one,
Right.
no,
So,
there's no
so
hierarchy.
actually, I want to start this with Hugo, right? Because Hugo, from all of us here, is a guy that has the biggest team to manage, right? So
Right. Yeah.
how do you do that, man? How do you attract people to your team, and how do you keep them motivated?
Oh, thanks, Bruno. So, well, I believe that that's a question that still keeps me stick with me all the time. I think I don't have an answer that will solve every team, every problem that you might have in your team, and actually that's kind of part that you should be doing new stuff or thinking about your team members as unique guys and understand them, have active listening with them, and create building some kind of trust between your team. I think that's a very maybe a very broad and very generic answer, but I think that's no other way than creating trust there, and then and keeping them motivated to stay with you. So I think that's something I usually try to do, to go through their challenges, understand their challenges, and try to understand what connects better them to the project that you are working in, and to the task that they need to accomplish. So yeah, I think that's a very first thing that come in my mind. And actually, it's really tough to have this individual look for each team member. It's not a very easy task because it's not a formula that you can apply to everyone, the same formula that you can apply to everyone. So don't scale very well. So I think that's a challenge that I feel all the time.
Yeah, listening to people, asking questions, and look, the best thing you said here it was towards the end, Hugo, when you said that it does not scale. Guys, leadership, it's not, you don't, leadership is a one-one thing, right? So it's a person,
Yes.
Exactly.
personal
Yeah.
thing. So leadership is not about scaling, right? It's about thinking about people. That's great, man. Awesome.
Exactly.
So how about you, Isidro? Do you want to, you have to motivate a lot of students,
Yes.
and also you work on teams doing games and all that. So you have to motivate people to keep doing it, right? So how hard is that?
It's a very hard task because, as Hugo said, it's a one-to-one activity. And when you are in a leadership position, and if I can say that as a professor, how can I try to motivate my students? And I think the best answer is software is about people. Software is a tool to help people.
Mhm.
If you don't help people, your software is just an amount of lines of useless code. And so I don't know when it happened, but in a lot of behaviors of my students, they are very, very focused on committing, on next issues, on code faster, faster. And what about your user? What about the person in the other side of your software that's going to use your software? Do you need to apply all the top technologies at this point to attend, for example, a small business, a small entrepreneur that needs your talent? How can you see this person in the other side? How can you approach your problem to make his life easier? When I try to in a lot of situations, for example, a guy who knows to make pizza, a guy who sell pizza in a neighborhood.
I know how to make pizza.
For example, if you want to make a business selling pizza to your neighbor, only to your neighborhood, it's obvious that you can improve your activities with a website and a small app to attend your customers. And what you, developer, is doing to your customer, the owner of this pizza business, for example. What we have to do, we don't sell only, we don't develop only a lot of lines of code. We can bring him 2 hours of rest, because in the end of the day, he's not obliged to make manual maths to check the amount of money, the amount of selling, and etc. What you are giving to your customer to getting back 2 hours before home. That's the most important thing, because you are going to solve a problem that your customer, the owner of this small business, to make a little bit better life. And that's about software. Software is about make people's life better.
Awesome. And of course, when you're doing software that makes people's lives better, right? It's a lot easier to be motivated to do it, right?
You have purpose on your activities.
Purpose. That's money. You should add that to our list. So someday talk about purpose.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, everybody's been mentioning keywords, like the one of the keywords that stuck out when Hugo was talking, among many other things, is trust.
Yes.
Right. And what Isidro just mentioned just now is software is about people. And at that point, I wanted to interrupt and say something, but I didn't want to, and I let him pass through. But Bruno and Hugo, if you remember, in the last 5-6 sessions we've said almost similar things what Isidro has been saying, but in different words, right? Software being a creative process, software being about people, software being about communication, about community. We have never talked about technology. We have never talked about software being about Java, Python, or JavaScript, right? Or all the technologies, like they're there today, they're not there tomorrow, right? People are always going to be there, right? So and it's about improving people's lives. That's where the purpose and the goal comes in, right? Because if that's not there, you don't stay motivated. You're passionate about something, right? People have a passion. See, that's what I wanted to add to the word motivation. See, the word motivation and passion are two different things, actually.
Right.
If you may, what passion has emotion attached to it. Motivation may or may not have emotion attached to it. Motivation is more like a mental thing. That's how I look at it. I'm motivated because I'm goal-oriented. Passion has no goal, actually, if you go to see. Passion is just like some energy bursting out. And if it has a goal, it's fuzzy. Whereas motivation has a mental, intellectual goal, right? Because it's a target that you keep looking at that motivates you, that drives you towards that target. That's how I look at it. And here, the word purpose and goal is actually what's driving you towards that target.
Mhm.
But along the way, you need to have trust all along, right? Because that motivation can be interrupted if the element of trust, which Hugo mentioned earlier, is disrupted. Whereas with passion, some people can say passionate about something, even if all of these things don't work, whether there's a goal or no goal, whether there's trust or no trust, they're just passionate about it. And passion is like a loose cannon sometimes, if you may agree with me. It can be a loose cannon, right? If it's not harnessed
Yeah,
into
right. Yeah,
motivation, it's kind of a loose cannon. But it's
yeah,
good to have passion. You got to have passion,
right.
irrespective of what I say. You got to have passion, because passion will give drive to motivation, goal, purpose, will create trust. So yeah, I mean,
Oops, sorry.
yeah, no, go on. Because I couldn't say anything more than what all of you have already said. I don't know, Bruno, if you've contributed yet, but
I didn't say anything. That's good.
okay, you will be after me. But let Isidro continue with his trend of thought.
What man said is blowing my mind. Okay, right now, but I think we need a very, very, very special thing: sense of responsibility. Why? Why this sense of responsibility? Because the other side is count with your effort,
Mhm.
needs your talent. So if you think you are autosufficient, you cannot serve your customer. Software is a profession about service, not service like for example, a business activity. Your spirit, you have to serve. You have to apply your talent, your intelligence, your skills, your organization, your sense of responsibility to attend a person, a group of people, a small business that is made of people. And I think when I try to talk to my students, motivation, I think it's a flag that's positioned on the highest top of our tower. The weakest wind can change your direction. But where your flag must be stuck in the rock. What we can what's the association that we can tell about this rock? Your sense of responsibility. Motivation must be based on sense of responsibility. For example, I can wake up motivated, but if my son hurts his arm, I will be worried about his health, and my motivation can go down. Okay, what sustains me? My sense of responsibility. I think that it's a when I realized this, it was a turning point on my career. My sense of responsibility. I must, for example, I must release the next version to my client. I must develop the best code with the best tools that I have in my hands at this moment. I think it's a little bit contribution. What about many told me that makes my mind blow.
That's great, man. So no, a couple of things that you guys said here that I love a lot, right? Responsibility. Actually, funny enough, I just wrote an email about responsibility just a few minutes ago, right? Because talking about for me, and one of the main questions he started with was about what's the best or the better developer, right? And for me, the biggest difference between a senior developer and someone that's starting, like a junior developer, for example, there's all kinds of things we can talk about this, but one of the main things is responsibility, right? When you're a senior developer, you have more responsibility. People give you more responsibility, or you take more responsibility, right? Also, that's the same thing for leadership, right? So when Hugo's talking about helping other people and getting people motivated. When Isidro's talking about motivating the students, right? It's, you know, if you don't take responsibility for your project, for your team, how can you motivate anyone, right? And so and I think that's so for me, responsibility is very important. And that's what Manu is talking about, right? He's talking about the keywords, and the keywords trust, right? We talk about trust all the time. And trust, it's also a level of responsibility. If I'm responsible for what I'm doing, and I'm responsible for my relationship with you, then we can have trust, right? Because if I'm not responsible, if I just kind of treat you badly, or if I ignore what you are and I don't take responsibility for my acts, right? You cannot trust me, right? So this whole notion of responsibility, I think that's such an important note, such an important thing for being a senior, right? And that's what I wrote in the email earlier today, because it's crazy. I know I talk with developers almost every single day. I'm having like a deep conversation with a developer, and I see, lots of times I talk with people that they are, top senior developers, they have long careers, things like this, and they act like they're juniors, right? I mean, they're still they blame their companies for everything. They blame their projects. They don't take responsibility. Nothing's their fault, right? And so you got someone that has a senior position that's thinking and acting like he was a junior. And I see the other thing the other time, right? So I actually this week I talked with this guy that he's a junior developer, but he had a previous career, right? So he had 15 years career, and then he became a developer, right? So he's a junior developer right now, but he's very responsible. He had a previous career. He's, I'm like, man, you don't sound like a junior developer, right? And then I ask you, why you don't sound like a junior developer? What's I'm missing on this conversation? And then he said, oh, no, but software development is a change in my career a few years ago. And so it's like, you can see, right? You can see the people, what he's looking for, what he's thinking about, right? And so I think that a lot of times, the more look, guys, you're watching us here, the more responsibility you take in your life, the more responsibility you take, and you can take more responsibility, right? Just look around. Is there anything you can do? The more responsibility you take, the more senior you're going to be. Doesn't matter, how many years you have in your career.
Yeah, I mean, well said, Bruno. I mean, I couldn't have said that better than how you framed it. And I mean, all this while, if you listen to each one of us, we're only talking about people and qualities, right? And that is the answer, in my sense, to what is a good developer. It's about people. I shared this with somebody today, and long ago I gave this talk. And I think I shared with you guys as well here, essential technical skills. If you remember, I'm going to share this link, and maybe later on you can share it on LinkedIn with everybody. And it is, the title is Essential Technical Skills, right? So you'll probably expect me talking about technical skills in there, right? But I'm not talking about technical skills in there. And that's the whole irony of it. And it's not very popular talk, because people are expecting me to talk about technical things, and some of the topics I talk in there are not mainstream, and so people don't buy it. But because everybody has a different view of how the technology world works, and not many people are actually seeing it the way we are seeing it. So I just shared this link in the chat. It's a 6-year-old talk, but I feel it's still relevant. It's the title of the talk is Essential Technical Skills. But all the things many of the things we talked about here, and some of the things not, are in that talk. It's only a 15-minute talk, maybe less. It's like was a lightning talk. Actually, it's a 5 or 7 minutes talk. So it's a lightning talk, and maybe you don't want to watch it now, but I would share this with the community, and that covers some of the things, and it has nothing to do with technology, in a sense. It has to do with your own technology, which is trust, motivation, passion, responsibility, all the things we talked about in this last 10-15 minutes, in the last 25 minutes actually.
Cool. All right, So skillmaster.com, is that an event? Is that a website?
So skillsmatter.com. Bruno, you have been there. Actually, I think you have.
Okay.
Because I remember having dinner with you and another LJC leader. In fact, you probably presented a talk or ran a workshop that evening. When yeah. So Skills Matter is a great place. There are great community people. They did go into a difficult situation a couple of years ago, but they have come back. They're more like an online presence in
Nice.
company now. So they don't have
Nice.
a brick mortar place. I'm not fully sure about those details, but they're doing pretty much the same thing that they were doing earlier. But they're doing so. You probably find Bruno's videos if you just type Bruno in the search in on that Skillscast page. And so that's another shout out. On that link, if you go to that link, you can find Bruno's videos there as well. He's given presentations there for sure. And there are other Brazil SUJava developers and leaders who've come to London and giving presentations, long presentations on that platform, Skills Matter. So I highly recommend to explore that. They've got massive videos, thousands of videos from so many years. So that's the
Awesome. That's great.
yeah. But maybe you're not searching with the right keyword, Bruno. You have given a talk or a presentation or workshop there. Maybe it was not recorded, but you have done it. It's on record, at least.
All right. So, and I want to, since you're doing a shootout for the Skills Masters, let me just kind of do also shootout here for Max, right? So we're actually streaming on Max channel. So thanks a lot, Max. It's great to be here with you, right? Also, I mentioned SoJava, right? So we're streaming on SoJava's channel. So thanks a lot, everyone from SoJava for supporting us here. And also, I think we're streaming on the channel of.
You're streaming on my channel. I know that.
Oh, so Manny's channel. Thanks a lot, Manny.
Yeah.
We might be streaming on Isidro's channel. So thanks a lot, Isidro, for being here. That's great. All right. So and if you're watching us here, come on, send us questions. Say on the chat, right? We're gonna try to monitor to help to actually think about your questions and try to answer your question. Tell us what's your biggest problem you're facing right now, right? Tell us what is your biggest dream. So I have a question here because I had a discussion this afternoon with a developer from Slovakia, actually, right? It's pretty cool, and he had this situation, right? That he's a very, very senior guy. He said he started with Java 1, right? So that should be something 96, 97. Right?
Yeah, 95, 96 for sure.
Yeah, right. So and one thing that I see with some people like this, right? So many years of experience, is that there are still a senior developer, right? So is there a point in our careers where we might want to move beyond senior developers? Is that a path beyond senior developers, right? So Money, I think you took that path, right? You became an independent consultant, right? And so you are now whatever you want to be, right? So can you tell us a little bit about this path, about going beyond senior and being your own, I don't know, your own boss or running your own thing? So what does it take for us to do that step?
So I think it's a good point, because there comes a point. I was quite reluctant in doing that many years ago, because there comes a point in your career when you're growing, and then what's the next thing? And of course you have the corporate world that defines all these titles, but those titles mean less or nothing, right? Sometimes, because it's very subjective. A senior in one company is probably a junior in another company, for example, right? In the sense of the levels of skills and experience and all those things, right? But
right? So different companies have call things different.
Yeah, different responsibilities, and you have different capabilities you got to present, right? Someone senior in one company has a whole set of different capabilities than a senior in another company. But there comes up, and that's one of my questions as well. What do you do when you outgrow? And so when you realize that's when you fledge wings, right? And you move away. But then the world outside doesn't have hierarchies, doesn't have titles, right? But the world outside does recognize capabilities, does recognize qualities, does recognize the things you can achieve for the outside world. And then you stretch from being whatever your last title was on your corporate visiting card to anything and everything, because you then meet with CTOs, CEOs, stakeholders, decision makers. You probably meet with senior developers and senior engineers and senior and maybe staff or principal engineers, not as often as you would, because your work will come not through those people, but it'll come through the stakeholders, the decision makers. And then you have to start becoming more than a developer, more than a senior developer. You got to start becoming more like thinking, a bird's eye view of things, as opposed to how developers only think, oh yeah, I'll do it in Java 7 and 8 or whatever, and I'll use Python and I'll use Terraform and I'll use AWS or GCP or OCI. That's not the language they're interested in. That's the language you got to drop or keep it below, and then you got to adapt a new ubiquitous language. And the ubiquitous language will be all across, from the highest stakeholder to the lowest stakeholder, which is the developer. And the highest and lowest doesn't mean good or bad. It's just where the decision flow comes from, right? So that's what you got to become. So you're becoming more than a staff or a principal engineer. I will really say, because some of the staff and principal engineers, and I'm not going to speak for all of them, they can be only doing technical stuff. They may not be even doing stakeholder related stuff. They may be knowing stakeholder management, but when you then have to do what independent developers and freelancers have to do, you have to become you got to speak the language a CEO speaks, CTO speaks, all the management people speak, business stakeholders speak. You got to then grasp their problem, translate into a technical solution, and relay it back to them. But also you got to work with their staff, and their staff will be principal engineers, CTOs maybe, senior engineers, junior engineers, contractors they might have from another company, so on and so forth. The list just goes on. So you are actually doing way beyond and more than a senior engineer is doing. People hardly recognize this. It's not a very great thing in the industry, but this is what happens.
Yeah, you got a lot more when you do those steps, right? You get a lot more influence on what's going on, and a lot more influence in your company, right? That makes a big
exactly.
difference. Yeah.
Exactly.
So how about you, Isidro? Isidro, you are, I mean, although you are a university professor, you also run your own company, right? So,
Yes.
so you did take that step, right? I'm not sure if you're working for a company or something like this for you to be considered senior, right, in a company, but you're running for your own company. So how was that step of you run your own company, having a product and having an office and run your own stuff?
It's a very interesting thing, because I got two different paths. If you consider my academic titles, yeah, I think I got the highest academic title that I could get, the PhD degree.
So you're a senior on.
For an academic point of view, I think I got the senior degree on my career. Okay, but what can I think about seniority? Is that right? Seniority, okay? I think it's about technical skills. It's, for example, I think I often talk to my students and to people next to me. Seniority is when you have a problem involving a company, not a system model, the whole company. And you can interfere on this company using the best technology tools available at the moment, that you can lead a team, you can conduct a team, you can lead people to use that technology and perform on it. So, for example, when I am on academic stuff, research, I have a lot of students, for example. What are the best technology tools that I can offer to them? That's a point. I think I can be more senior when I try to lead them to a solution. So if they have technical problems, I can be with them to solve this because I can handle these technology tools, and I can teach them how to use it better and how to perform on it. When I look, I go to the business path on my own company. What can I offer to my customers, to my clients, or to the companies that I work on with my company? What are the best tools that I can offer to them to make the best experience, the better I can, and how can we perform using this technology, looking at the business. So what's the main point of this? Seniority is about responsibility and technology skills together
Mhm.
to look at the whole company, not one product or not one system, not one software, the whole company.
Nice,
I,
nice,
I think it's a little bit about this.
nice. I like that a lot. Yes, being I think that is the biggest difference between a senior developer and the beyond senior developer, right? So the senior developer usually focus on one project, one thing, and the beyond senior developer is a guy that's kind of thinking about the whole company, right? So that's an awesome thing. You did awesome. How about you, Hugo? You are working for a company, and and you're leading a team. You are actually going on that path of being a beyond senior developer. Um, Inside a company. So what do you think it takes, right? So what are you doing that people should be doing too?
While hearing many and Professor Isidro comments, I, one thing that I realized here that was quite very interesting is when we said about assuming more responsibility. We grow when we assume more responsibility, and seems like when you start running your own business, when you start doing your own consultancy or anything, you are taking the biggest responsibility because you are responsible for your own career, your own life, and your own job. And I believe that many people that I, uh, I cannot say much about me. It's just an insight that I just have right now. But I believe that some people that I see, they have a more seniority even inside the company, is when they act uh, not like an employee inside the company, but like a guy that is selling their service inside the company. So they are aware of their responsibility about their own, what they give to the company and what they receive back from the company, and having this grow and control of themselves. I see that people much more nature about the decisions that they make, about the how they behave inside the company, because they are acting like people that is really responsible about what they deliver,
Mhm.
and also about their own business, that is themselves, their time, and their skills. So yeah, I think that's something I think it comes in my mind about seniority. And I believe that people have this maturity, I believe that is much beyond other senior developers. That, like I said, it's a more a closed scope about their tasks. Even if they do very well, if they are very skilled, they are very constrained in their in a scope that are already predefined or defined by someone else. And yeah, I think that's something that comes in my mind.
Okay, that's great. And you got some interesting responsibility inside your company, right?
Oh yeah.
Because there's several people that left your company, and then you had to to regroup everyone, and then you have to attract new people. So how hard was that, right? So what was, did you have to technical guy? Do you have to just focus about people? Because that's a question we get a lot, right? Do I have to
Yes.
be a technical person to grow?
And yes, I believe that any company where you work, you have this rotation of people, and if you are in a leadership position, a manager position, you probably will have to deal with this kind of challenge. And
Mhm.
indeed, it's a very challenging problem. And yeah, what I try to do is to extract the best thing that we can about this situation, and not just, of course, when we lose people, we are not losing just a resource. We are losing a lot of. If the guy was probably if they leave, they got some better offer. So the guy is a good guy. So he is a team member that probably have make difference in our team. And you're losing also the knowledge, the everything that he takes with him. So, but I tried to understand what kind of things that made him made the offer better. What kind of thing that we can do better here inside our company that can that can be more keep the motivation. So as we said, like leadership is a 101. So I try to keep understanding each person individually as a unique person, as a unique team member, and try to understand what they are looking after. Try to help them connect with the company, because that's something that is very interesting. Some people, I think I can also tell about myself. When you are young, you don't have this connection very well. You don't have the focus very well clear with you. It's not so natural to have this kind of understanding. So helping sometimes they have many things to connect with the company, and they just don't see what they are focusing and what they can do inside the company that will help them grow inside the company and help them grow in their career also. So I
Yeah.
try to connect this help them connect with this.
And sometimes, we have to understand that sometimes people leave for reasons that we cannot compete, right? So, for
Yeah.
example, we had in my consulting company, we had a guy once that was awesome developer, and he wanted to be a country musician, right? So he left for that, right? So, and sometimes, we have people that, for example, I have a mentee that, he loved his company. He was working in an awesome company, but then he got an opportunity to move to another country, right? So that is, there's something you cannot compete. Or Manny, for example, right? Whenever Manny decided to leave his company to become an independent consultant, right? I mean, like, I'm going to run my own company. I'm going to be my own boss. So sometimes there's no competition with what you're going to do because it's an aspiration that other people have, right? And I see Max saying here. So hey, Max. So Max is here. Not only we're streaming to his channel, so thanks a lot, Max, for that. But also he's here with us. So hey, Max, how you doing, man? So you got here in a good time. Actually, we got to the end of that subject, I guess, right? Because anything else, Money or Isidro? I run out of questions for you guys.
Are you talking about how to attract good developers in a team or to keep them? I mean, the questions are kind of related, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, between Hugo, yourself, and Professor Isidro, I think you covered it all. But it's really a tough question, right? One of the things I think about is to always keep people inspired. It's a hard job, but that kind of is the key, because it's for me as well. If I want to do something, I need to stay inspired, right? It's the same thing with Hugo and I working on this project that we're working on. The reason we are working on it, we both are inspired. Of course, we are tired sometimes. We don't have the time sometimes. Sometimes there are other priorities. But the back of our mind, we are always thinking of this project because we're inspired by what that project can bring. Like There are so many connecting parts. Like we gave a talk the other day, and Hugo already explained all the things he understood about the project without me having to explain to him, because he was already inspired by it the moment I introduced the project to him. And then he read a few things, and he was able to connect the dots. That's what the power of inspiration is, right? Is able to take you to the next level. Is able to connect you and in sync and bring you in sync with the other people who are also inspired about the same thing. I don't know if you've had these moments where, like, you walk into a conference after a session is finished, and you're in the lobby, and few people are like inspired by this talk because they talked about the technology that all of you are interested in. They said, "Oh yeah, and we can have this feature in. Oh yeah, I was thinking of the same feature. Oh yeah, and we can have this function they'll call the other function. Use this library, and yeah, I was actually there is a project already that way. Maybe not exactly what you're talking about. Have a look at this. There you go. Connections made. Why? Because it was driven by something called inspiration, right? Exactly. And who inspired them? The speaker, right? The speaker was the leader there.
Look, man, you mentioned who inspired them, right? I gotta say that, right? So because Max agree with you, he says that the key is to keep devs inspired, and then
Exactly.
he said, you know, great to have awesome to see great people here. My references, right? So you guys are inspiring Max right now, and you're inspiring lots of people. So that's great, right? So thanks a lot, Max. And we're streaming to Max channel. So Max, thanks a lot, man. Thanks for being here with us all the time. Max is a coordinator of SoJava, one of the largest Java group in the world, right? So he does a lot of work there. Thanks, Max, to be here with you, man.
Thank you, Max, for adding so much value to our channel.
I thought it was very, very, and you know, and as you're saying, Manny, you know, this inspiration is important, right? So when the speaker inspires, when you inspire people, you can change their lives, right?
Absolutely. I mean, my whole career happened because of inspiration. I had this fantastic principal. I went to a Catholic school, even though I follow a different belief. I went to a Catholic school, and the principal who came in, I don't know, about 10 years after I went, in schooling, and he really was about inspiring people. He would do very little things. He would do simple things, but he would instill inspiration, right? Even the last day when I graduated out of my school, we all went to him with our logbooks to just have messages and quotes from him, and he would write things in there to inspire you even then. And all the time I spent in under his tenure as a principal, as him being the principal of the school, is all I learned was that how he inspired people, and that and everything I developed was a result of his inspiration. Right? So if I have a technology career now, is all credits to him, because he instilled it. And not just me, he had the whole school of thousands of people and not everybody must have got inspired, because everybody doesn't probably pay attention. But I'm thinking his goal eventually resulted in many people being inspired, one after the other. So many batches of students got inspired with that. So it comes from that one person, and all he did is very, very little, small, simple, subtle things, but important things. So his way of inspiring people, right? Some people speak and inspire. Some people write and inspire. Some people paint and draw, make music and inspire. Some other people do very subtle things like this and inspire.
Yeah, that's right, man. I want to get back to one thing that you said, but before that, you mentioned your principal in your school, and Isidro, that's what you do all the time, right? So you have to inspire your students, and I think that inspiring students is such a hard job, right? Because you gotta students want to go parties and have fun, and you're meeting friends, right? So
Yes.
and then you got to actually get them to think about maybe being responsible and getting a job, right? So
that's the point. I was thinking about what Manny was talking, and again, my mind was blowing. So, Manny, you blow my mind this evening, and
Explosion.
so many explosions here in my office. So, how can we be effective on inspiration? Why my students got inspired on me? my acts must be very coherent with my speech. So it's not it's effectless if I talk something and get practice on other thing. So I'm used to use to talk to my students, to tell my students what is the name of the user of your system. Do you have a user? This user has a name. Call him by his name. For example, I have a group of students that we have to make a web store, okay, a small e-commerce, and our user, our customer, was a girl, was a young lady that lives near my home, Leticia. It was just a software. It's Leticia's store. We have a user, we have a person that will be the stakeholder of our system. And if I treat her in one way and talk anything different to my students, they will see, they will notice this incompatibility. So my words must go with my actions. That's the key of inspiration. People who see you talking, who hear your speeches, must be your day by day actions. And okay, this guy practice what he says. That I think, and that's in this is about responsibility. I cannot say something to my team that I don't believe, that I don't practice, that I don't put in my day by day routine. I think that's the point, and how to keep people inspired, because you most of times is the only sign they can see in a no, no, in a very cloudy environment. You should. Many people see you, watch you like a point of light, and that's the very difficult test, because you keep responsibility that is not yours, but so that's yours. Those people are my responsibility. At the least, I must lead them to a difficult, but for example, to a path that we know where we can reach.
Awesome. And this whole thing about saying one thing and doing another one, I always tell to my mentees and my students that want to be good speakers, right? Is the thing that I was going to an event, an international event, many years ago, and I was in the airport, and I saw this guy kind of being very, very rude, to some attendee in the airport, and I was like, why? What's the reason? Why? I know you're tired. I know you are in the airport. I know maybe you're late or something. But why? Why are you going to be so rude to a person, right? That's just working the airport. And so, I didn't know the guy. I was just kind of looking at him and like, why, right? And then I come to the event and I'm there in the event. And then at one time, people say, "Oh, yeah, we're going to have this awesome speaker, blah blah," and then the guy just walks on the stage. I'm like, right? He lose our credit. I mean, of course, no one in the event knows what he did, but I know, right? And so he immediately lose every credibility that he had, because I know that I know who he really is when he's not in front of the camera, when he's not in front of the stage, right? So yeah, and so these kind of things happen, and so Max is saying to us here, right, that he moved his career to help developers, and when I see them improving, and they come to him and thank him, it shows that it was worth ever moving, because that's the whole point, right? When we, when we when we connect with people and we help them, when we think about them, and we are consistent, right? So we're consistently doing this. It's not just a one-off, right? It's not, oh, I just helped this one guy. We even people that don't want to help, right? We eventually help someone, right? There's this parable that Jesus talks about, right? That even the bad judge will help the lady that knocks on his door late at night, right? So but I think the consistency, right? Doing this consistently, doing this all the time, right? Doing this over and over and over again. That's what's going to make a difference. That's what makes a difference for you, for your career, for everyone around you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I couldn't have said anything better than what Professor Isidro and Bruno said. I mean, if I have to sum it up, it would be something like, you got to practice what you preach. You got to make it part of your life. But
Right.
it's also, people look up to you as a role model, which is what I think Professor was saying earlier. And hence, you have to project a personality that is serious and can be trusted, right? Because it's a hard role and a responsible position, right? Once you have people looking up to you, it's a very responsible position. You can't just do anything that is irresponsible, like how you explained earlier about that speaker. And it will show up because, as you said, you know about it, but maybe eventually some other people will find out about it, because you can't have a behavior like this that will stay hidden for a long time, right? So some people will have more work to do on themselves, and some other people less. But we have to remember, it's a responsible position, which is what I think you mentioned earlier as well, and Professor also mentioned about the responsibility element of this. It is serious business. It's not walk in the park, right? It's not cakewalk.
But Manny, there's one thing you said, man, that I said I was going to bring that back, because I thought for me it was so important. And I just want to bring attention to the thing you said, because you really said you got to pay attention, right? And I think that part of the responsibility, part of being a leader, part of growing a career is giving attention to things, right? Because when whatever we put attention on, that gets done, right? Whatever we put attention on, that grows, that improves, and so I really think that this whole a lot of the discussion here can be summarized for the thing that you said, right? Paying attention to things, right? So I would totally I think that's very important for you to pay attention to your team, for you to pay attention to people around you, for you to pay attention to your code, for you to put attention in your career. A lot of people just kind of do things without knowing why they're doing things, right? So attention is such an important word.
There is actually another word, I don't know if you've heard of it, and people have mentioned this to me, is conscientious.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is being conscious about it. It totally covers this attention thing, because the moment you're conscious and conscientious about things, and it's mostly about people and situation, then your actions are automatically geared towards the adjustments for those situations and people, so it's in harmony, so it's in the best interest. And as a leader, as a responsible person, as a mentor, conscientiousness becomes more and more important.
Right.
So that's kind of the word that came to my mind when you mentioned pay attention to. Pay attention to is a simpler explanation to, and maybe a stream of that. But conscientiousness is a little bit more than just paying attention.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. So I think this is so important: consciousness, attention, and I think there's a whole movement of consciousness, right? So that's
conscientious
yes,
is different than conscious.
Conscientiousness.
Yeah. It's a bit tongue twisting, but there's a slight difference. But the words are related. It's being conscious.
Yeah,
that's why conscientious, right?
Yes.
Being conscious about something. So you're right about it, even if you say if you're being conscious, right?
Right. Yeah, I know. Look, you are in London, You're the English speaking person here.
But this is a difficult word even for me sometimes, because
It
it's
is.
very subtly different in pronunciation of the
Yeah,
other word.
yeah, it is. All right, guys. So we're on our mark here. So we thanks everyone for watching us here. But Hugo, as we talk about a lot about responsibility, but being a senior and going beyond senior. So what do you think would be your last message here for everyone?
Oh well, I think for me also this session today gives a lot of insights and new point of views. But yeah, I think being responsible by yourself for your career, for what you do and what you deliver. I think that's a great advice to start growing your career at any time. So anywhere that you are junior, you are already senior, and you want to go up. Even if you are beyond senior and you still want and still looking to grow, I think that's always a valid way to grow.
Right. So one thing, I kind of start wrapping things up here, but one thing that Money just remind me is the out of the box book recommendation, right? And I was gonna forget about that. Sorry about that. So Money, how about you start with that? Because I'm already gonna paste your suggestion here in the chat, right? So that's Money's suggestion right here.
So I have two books this time, and both are non-technical, but one of them is related to software development, and the other one is kind of related to science. Not kind of, but it is related to science. But it has another angle to it. So the first book is Specification by Example, which I highly recommend every developer read, even the ones who are just starting to learn to code, because this is something we miss out in our journey. I learned it only 10 years or 15 years after the fact, but I think I should have learned about this just about the time I started learning to write code, because this teaches you the thing about ubiquitous. Remember I mentioned about ubiquitous language across the whole stakeholder business, from the stakeholder, the high stakeholder to the lowest stakeholder. This ubiquitous language is so important, because that way the message is not distorted through Chinese whispers and echo chambers, right? And so the same message goes across from the highest stakeholder to the one who writes code, deploys it, maintains it, monitors it, because we all speak the same language. And this book is a great book to start with, Specification by Example. There is an example of Spotify's engineering team that uses it and uses similar techniques or the same techniques. And so I highly recommend that book for developers on this stream and everywhere else. And the other book is QED by Professor Richard Feynman, which I think everybody on this channel should know about. And I already see Isidro nodding his head, so he is aware of it. And the reason I recommended his book is, again, to do with something called simplicity. This gentleman was a genius. He would take very, very hard topics. And that book is not much. It's actually, I have a copy of it right here. I love this copy because it's old. But this book, if you see, it's hardly, not even 50 pages. I'll tell you, how many pages is it? Yeah, something like that. 150 pages, right? It's a small book. You can read it on your aeroplane trip anywhere, and you'll enjoy the whole read. And it's actually about physics and maths, but you don't feel it. But he's given all the top-notch expounding ideas that many of the top physicists actually are not able to explain properly. And he's explained in simple words and diagrams. And so that's the level of simplicity we need to work in. And Richard Feynman was a highly gifted physicist, and he knew many things about physics, but he wrote things very, very simply. So how many people in academia and scientists and physicists are able to do that, or computer scientists or engineers able to do that? That's where we want to be. Hence that second recommendation of the book I shared. And if you guys have any other shares, please go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna do a book here that has everything to what we discussed here today, and it's a book by a friend of mine. I'm sure friends from many also, Ed Burns, right? The Secrets of Rockstar Programmers, right? I think this book is an awesome, right? And so we're talking about here about being a senior developer or being a post senior developer, right? So this book here has it all, right? So I know that there's a book that's making rounds now. That's the staff engineer book that talks about the Beyond Senior one, but this book here, it goes all the way to the top developer, right? So Ed Burns went on and got a list of amazing developers, right? So just some names here: Rod Johnson, right, inventor of the Spring Framework. Ariane Collier, pioneer of aspect-oriented programming, right? And Floyd Marinesco, co-founder of serverside.com, right? And James Goss also here, and so many others, right? So, so Ed Burns went and interviewed those guys, and he did the cool thing that he did is that he created this tables, right, where it had all the top developers and the skills, right, that they mentioned, right? So it's an awesome book, right? So it really shows the secret of the rockstar programmers, right? I did a presentation with Ed Burns on Java 1 about the secret of rockstar programmers, and that's an awesome book. So thanks everyone, and thanks Hugo for pasting the link right there in the chat. That's awesome.
And okay, and wow,
So
from my side, I think I didn't prepare the book here.
That's Hugo. So Isidro, you have a chance, right? Because Hugo's gonna do now. You have a chance.
Okay.
But you get your book. So yeah.
So I have one.
No. Hugo's gonna talk first. So to get.
Okay. Hugo, go ahead.
Or maybe the other way around, Hugo. If you don't have yours ready, you can get Isidro.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have today. I think I will repeat one of the books that I really like to read. The 21 Lessons from the 21st Century. I think it was a very, very good book to have this broader view of the world and the world issues. So I think it's a more about this having a broader view of your responsibilities. I think that will be pretty helpful. And I like really much the lessons that he shares here in this book. I shared the link here, and yeah, I think that's for today.
Good. That's awesome. All right. So how about you, Isidro? We didn't even prepare you to have the book. We had our book session, but
fortunately, I have this. This book. Wherever I go, I keep this book. It's not a technical book. It's a reflection one. It's a hardcover, okay. But the first one, it's compiled of 3 volumes. But the first one in Portuguese, the name is Caminho. In English is The Way. The author is Joseph Maria Escriva, and now he's a saint, okay? And it's not a book that you can read usually. It's a set of paragraphs that you can read individually, each paragraph, and make reflections about it. It's about maturity. It's about purpose. It's about do the things you have to do. Sense of responsibility. It was for me in my career. It was a turning point reading this book.
Awesome. That's great. So even our guest got. So one thing I want to mention. So all great books. That's awesome. All right. So. Come on, guys. We're way past the time here. So Hugo already finished a little bit here. So I'm gonna. So how about you? Do you wanna say something, Manny?
Well, a closing thing would be to keep watch all our sessions, but this one has been reflecting on even more deeper topics, and also we have a guest who has brought in quality content for this session. And with that, also I want to thank everybody who's been on the show, the organizers, the guests, and also the viewers, because without you, we wouldn't be here, and the contributions you make, and Max has been also contributing. So thank you, and my gratitude to everybody, because this keeps me coming to the show every time.
Right.
My inspiration for being here.
Awesome. Inspiration is important, right? Okay, so Isidro, how about you? Do you wanna some closing comments here?
I would like to say thank you guys for inviting me to this session. I'm honored to be here. And if you need more, if you need me in more opportunities, please call me. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we might be adding more and more people here, right? All right. So, guys, the one thing I want to say really quick is that this session here was a little bit more philosophical, I think, than usual, right? So that's I think that was awesome. And one of the reasons for that is when you move beyond senior level, right? The rest of the things is start having a very, very important thing. So one thing that I want to say, one thing one claim of fame that I have is that I opened twice for Iron Maiden, right? And so the reason for that is because Bruce Dickinson was in Brazil a couple of times at Campus Party, and I was the guy that brought him on stage and was talking to the audience right before he walking in. And so Bruce Dickinson says something that I keeps I know nothing about music. I have but Bruce Dickinson says that the difference between a amateur or a beginner musician and a top rock star musician, actually he said a professional but not rock star musician, like a normal musician and a rock star musician, it's not the music, right? Because the music, you have to have the music to be a musician. So the difference is the rock star musician is thinking about other things, right? Is the rest, right? That the beginner or the amateur musician does not thinking about. And that's what's going to take you beyond a senior position. When you think beyond the technology, right? When you think about the rest. So I love this session here. So thanks a lot, Manny. Thanks a lot, Isidro. Especially thanks for Hugo to organize all this for us. But thank you all you guys, because really, being here and thinking beyond the technology, thinking outside the box, that's what we're here for. So thanks a lot. So Antonio says thank you. So thanks a lot, Antonio. Antonio says great presentation. I enjoyed this. Thanks a lot, Antonio. That's awesome to be here with you. Thanks, man. Thanks, Max. Thanks everyone that's participated here with us. That's awesome. So Hugo, up to you, man. You close it.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, guys. So thanks everyone. Thanks for watching, and hope to see you on the next session. And yeah, special thanks for Professor Isidro, that's our special guest today. And hope to see you also and more times in the future. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Let's have some animation, Hugo. If you can play some animation for us.
Oh, Bruno, help me with the animation here. It's you okay?